Hello and welcome back to my Dandelion Diaries. Today I wanted to share with you the 7 pens that I had inked up for the month of May in 2024. I actually started with, I think 8 or 9 pens inked up this month and ended up just washing out 2 of them. One was the Kakuno Sport in Macchiato. I had this inked up with a Diatramentis orange ink and it was just not pleasant. So I just uninked that because no point. And then the other one I recently shared, I think on Monday was when I made that video go up. This is the Heinz or 𝗦𝗵𝗁𝗃 Pen Company's Mercurial Mermaid. I had this inked up with Birmingham Pen Company's Emerald Fusion, and I liked it, but I didn't put enough ink in it, and I didn't feel like adding more ink to it. It was okay, so I just, put this one to the side too. Anyways, we're gonna get started with my first pen here, which is the Benu Euphoria in Earl Grey Tea. This is a Goulet Pens exclusive. And I absolutely love the faceting on this one and the blue and gold kind of flakes in it. And that it has actual tea in the resin is so nifty to me. And this is inked up with Diamine's Cocoa Shimmer. And I was honestly not expecting this pairing to be this amazing. I usually don't match my pens and inks just because I have way too many inks I want to use and way too many pens I want to use. And I just kind of go with what I'm feeling. But putting these two together was just amazing. It was so much fun. The brown actually matches this perfectly. The gold shimmer and cocoa shimmer matches the gold flecks in the pen perfectly. It was just a really fun combination, and I have loved writing with it so far in the month of May. As for the ink itself, I was graciously gifted this sample from Sorcia, and I immediately fell in love after the first time I swatched it and wanted to ink it up right away. This ink is a beautiful, warm, reddish brown, almost like it has like sienna look to it to me, and it has this warm gold shimmer in it. It is so beautiful. It does have a little bit of shading. I have noticed in this medium Euphoria that it picks up all of the shimmer and all of the shading and does a beautiful job in the writing. So I can't imagine what this would look like in a broad or even a stub nib, or if you even wanted to use this for calligraphy practice. It is such a beautiful brown ink. This is actually now on my list for a full bottle. So the next time I am able to make a bigger ink purchase, I am definitely going to be picking up a full bottle of this one. The next pen I had inked up is my Monteverde Trees of the World in Avenue of the Baobabs. This has an Omniflex nib on it, and I inked it up with Dominant Industries Garnet. And this pen and ink combination was okay. I honestly have a lot of problems with this pen for some reason, and I think it has mainly to do with the nib. It is an Omniflex nib, and it just is not my favorite by any means. I have honestly debated on switching out the nib in this pen because it annoys me with some inks. Okay, so with some inks it's fantastic, and with other inks it's just like really annoying. So I find that when I put a wetter ink in this pen, it does fantastic. And so I was really excited to put Dominant Industries Garnet in it because that is a very wet ink for me. But I've had a lot of problems with hard starts with this pen, and I don't know if it's because it's a red ink, which I know has a little bit of a more finicky personality than a lot of the other inks that I use. It was an okay pairing, was not my favorite. Would I ink it up again? Probably not. Here is the box that the Garnet Dominant Industry ink comes in. If you've never seen a boxed Dominant Industry inks, it comes with this little bag inside of it and also a little dropper. I just love how they package their stuff because it's so nicely packaged and everything stays nice and safe and cozy. I love it. But yeah, it comes with a little dropper with every bottle of Dominant Industry ink that you get, which I think is another nice feature. And that these inks kind of like, I don't know, they struggle to roll over. Like they're hard to tip over if you like accidentally like knock it. The Dominant Industry Garnet ink itself is a nice kind of pinky red color. It definitely is very bold and like red in most of the writing, but in the bigger swatching, you get more of a pink lean to it. I think if you were to write this next to something pink in a book, it would definitely pull out more of those pink tones, but it definitely has a good red base to it. It does have a little bit of sheen going on, not a whole whole lot of strong sheen, but it is kind of like this darkish, more like dark reddish color, even a little bit of green in there maybe. It's a very unique ink. It's very pretty. It definitely is a nice gemstone color, like a true garnet. And I love the flow of Dominant Industry inks. They're kind of been on my radar more and more lately. Birmingham Pen Company is still my winner, but this is just a really nice consistency, but the price is a little high. That's my only contender with this brand of ink. The next pen I had inked up is a Pilot Kakuno, and this is in the transparent green model with a medium nib, and I have this inked up with Rohrer and Klingner's Alt Bordeaux. I do want to mention this is probably my favorite starter pen now. I originally started with the Pilot Metropolitans, and they use the same style of nibs, but the pen body of this, the portability of this, there's something about this little pen that is just fantastic if you're wanting to get into fountain pens. I highly recommend the Pilot Kakuno. And this was a beautiful pen and ink combination. Like I was saying, I'm really enjoying the Pilot Kakunos. They're just really fun and easy to write with, and they're very, very affordable. And honestly, the Rohrer and Klingner ink I put in it is a beautiful moody purple color, which I'll go over more in a minute, but the combination of these two is great. I loved writing with it. Very easy to journal with, light in the hand. Overall, just a really pleasant experience, and I'm definitely enjoying medium nibs right now for sure. The color of this ink is definitely a wine purple. It has a little bit of shading going on with it, but it's overall pretty consistent throughout. I personally just love the color of this. It is definitely a nice deep purple color, a little bit of a red pink lean to it. It's like writing with a bottle of wine, a bottle of Cabernet. Like, I don't know. It's just really calming. I personally, again, like Rohrer and Klingner as a brand, even though I can't spell it for some reason, but it is definitely a nice, affordable brand, and they have a bunch of colors and a lot of really good shading ones too. I'm really enjoying the purples probably the most from Rohrer and Klingner. The Sulfurino is probably my number one from them just because it is this neon magenta. But they also have a really beautiful like blue purple like cassia, and then they have another dark purple, I think it's Scabiosa, that's also really, really pretty. They have quite a range, and I really enjoy this brand. The next pen I have inked up is another new pen purchase. This is the new TWSBI Caffe Bronze. I ended up getting this in a medium nib and inked it up with Birmingham Pen Company's Magnolia Mirage. I have this problem with TWSBIs. I want to collect all of the earthy toned ones. So I have like a black, a white, cream one now, a green, and then now a brown. So I feel like my collection is complete for my earth tones, so I shouldn't get any more unless they come out with a forest one. If they come out with a forest one, I'm done. But I have loved writing with this. This is my first medium TWSBI, and this was really quite enjoyable. Like I was saying, this was a very enjoyable combination. I actually journaled with this quite a long session, and have just found that TWSBI is a really nice pen body for me personally in terms of weight, ink capacity, and being able to journal for hours without having any problems. They're just really reliable in that way. And this was, like I said, also my first TWSBI medium nib. I usually go for the extra fine or even the fine just because they are pretty juicy and write really wet and a little bit broader than you would typically find in that nib size. And I would definitely say this is still true because the TWSBI Eco Medium is definitely more of a broad. It definitely is a very wet writer, and I did put a wet ink in it, so it was nice and flowy the whole time. Here is the bottle that I have of Magnolia Mirage. I adore the Birmingham Pen Company bottles. They're just so simple and classic. And I like that their labels are kind of like a vintagey stamp sticker. I don't know, very nice. I think it's really interesting too, if you've ever ordered from Birmingham Pen Company and got a bottle of their inks, how the bottom, like the thicker glass part, if you shine it in the light, you can see different colors that are in the like the pigments in the ink or the dyes in the ink. And I think it's so interesting. And Magnolia Mirage is a beautiful light pink with shading. So it has almost a purple halo effect to it with a little bit of an orange going on. It's a very unique pink, and I adore it so much. It is definitely one of my favorite pinks of all time. I usually steer away from lighter colored inks because I have trouble reading them again or seeing them just because of my eyesight. But overall, this pink is very legible to me. It is light enough but dark enough at the same time. Very, very nice. Also, Birmingham Pen Company has been my obsession lately. Their inks are so well flowing. I have had zero problems in everything I've tried them in, on any paper I've tried them on. They're just taking over my life at this point, and I love them so much. So yeah, highly recommend this ink if you can get a hold of it or get a sample or something. It's fantastic. The next pen I have inked up here is a Jinhao 82. This is, I believe, the translucent green. I don't remember. I did not Franken-pen this one. This one is exactly how it comes. But I would definitely consider taking this one apart and using the different pieces. Anyways, this is in a fine nib, I think. Yeah, in a fine nib, and this is inked up with Robert Oster's Monsoon Clouds, which is a Pen Chalet exclusive. First off, I want to apologize for any misspellings with this pen. For some reason, my brain just could not compute. But this pen and ink combination was okay. Honestly, I really like this ink because it looks like a thunderstorm. It's beautiful in purple and blue and gray and black, and like it has some really unique properties to it. And putting it in a fine nib pen is probably a disgrace on my part, but I really just wanted to have a nice darker color that was more blue leaning. And it worked out for the purpose that I had intended it for. I also have a love-hate relationship with the Jinhao 82s. They're hit or miss for me in terms of the nibs, and I think that's something that's been kind of circulated around with the pen in general. But overall, this was an okay pairing. Would I ink it up again? Sure, if I felt like it, but it wasn't terrible or good or great or anything. It was just kind of like in the middle of all the things. Like I was saying, this ink is a beautiful moody dark purple with some shading going on. It looks like a thunderstorm. It is beautiful. I find that the exclusive Robert Oster inks are always a winner no matter where I get them from. They always just have a nice unique quality to them, and this is no exception. I would say that my only complaint, and this is definitely a user thing that I made an error with, is I didn't get to showcase all the properties in the writing. It just was nice darkish blue purple color, which was what I was looking for. It's just to show more of the properties of this ink, I should have put it in a medium nib or a broad nibbed pen. Overall though, it's a beautiful color. I love this ink. Not really worth a bottle to me because I have quite a few like it, but I really like the shading properties that this one does have. The sixth pen that I had inked up for the month of May is my Esterbrook Estie in Seaglass with the gold hardware. This has an extra fine nib, and I inked this up with Platinum's Forest Black. And this pen and ink pairing was honestly a pleasant surprise. So I have been kind of steering away from my extra fine nibs. I mean, I only have, I think, 2 left in my collection. But this Esterbrook, the Esterbrook pen body is one of my favorites. It's just really comfortable in hand for me. And putting it with the Platinum Forest Black, I was expecting it to be primarily a dark green color, which it was. But some of that shading actually pulled through in the writing that I was doing, and I was really happy to see that. So this was a nice pairing, a surprising pairing that worked out for me, and I was overall really content with it. The Platinum Forest Black ink itself is such a unique ink. This is part of the Platinum collection that shades really cool. So my favorite ink from this line is the Citrus Black, where it starts as this bright yellow and literally shades all the way down to black. So this one starts off as kind of like a greenish color, like a medium green, and shades all the way down to black. I particularly find this ink to be like darkish green most of the time with a little bit of black shading. It's not as strong of the shade as like the yellow to black that I love so much, but I really enjoy this line of inks, and I think I've tried several of the other colors too. But the citrus is my favorite, and I definitely like this one too, but this one's not worth the bottle to me. Overall, the ink flow of this was really good. Even in an extra fine nib, I find that to be something that's a little more challenging, is to find a good flow with extra fine that's not super wet to make it look more fine. And if you wanted to write really tiny, the extra fine nib with a nice, normal flowing ink is perfect for that. It works really great if you're wanting to write really tiny. And the last pen I had inked up is the Ferris Press Carousel. This is their new version in the Billowing blush. It's a nice light pink color. I have this in a medium nib and it is inked up with KWZ's Grapefruit. And this pen and ink pairing was honestly a surprise. I personally don't care for the Ferris Press Carousel pens. They feel very cheap. I have broken several of them. They are the starter pen that Ferris Press produces, and I know that I am on their Jubilee program, and I'm not going to give you any kind of review of it other than my honest opinion. And my honest opinion of these is they're cheap and they're easy to break because like I said, have broken several. But I will say the pairing of the medium nib with the KWZ Grapefruit was really quite nice. It was a good, nice, bright orange color that I wanted, and it provided good writing overall in general. It was not a terrible experience. I just find that I break these pens very easily because of the plastic parts splitting where the turns are. But let me talk about the KWZ ink for a minute. So the KWZ brand has a scent to it, which I know I've mentioned, I think every time I swatch one of these inks, that it has a vanilla or a sweet smell to it. So if you are sensitive to smells, probably steer away from this brand. But the color of Grapefruit by KWZ is this vibrant red orange, and it is almost the same shade of like a really nice grapefruit rind. Like if you see a grapefruit at the store, it's kind of almost this color. It's not quite this dark, but it definitely has that personality to it. I find that this ink behaves very well. Most KWZ inks behave very well, and it has a really nice, unique color to it that you don't really find in a lot of other oranges. I personally think this is one of my favorite KWZ inks, specifically because I don't have another orange quite like this. But overall, this was a really pleasant experience, and the color was definitely one that I was going for my theme for this month. And with that, let me talk about my theme that I was going for this month. So I really wanted to have a range of colors that were a little bit floral, but I also wanted to have some darker colors just because I was craving just having some darker journals, like darker writing in my journaling sessions. And the theme that I decided to call this is Blooms and Brews. And brews like coffee brew or, you know, a drink. So I picked this because cocoa reminded me of like hot cocoa. Garnet reminded me of like a garnet colored flower. Bordeaux reminded me of wine. Magnolia Mirage is kind of like another florally color. And Monsoon Cloud is like a storm is brewing. So I felt that really fit in here. And Forest is kind of, you know, again, more of that florally blooms kind of thing. And Grapefruit is actually also in the bloom category because grapefruit flowers are beautiful. Anyways, I was really enjoying coming up with a name for this because I could not find out what I wanted to call it, if I'm being honest. And this is what I came up with. So I would love to hear if you have a better naming system for this. Overall, I was really happy with my color palette. I think the only thing I would add back in is a more orange yellow color, which is what I was trying to go for with my macchiato pen that I had inked up, but it just didn't really work out and I didn't want to struggle through writing with that, so I just put it to the side and we'll try again some other time. Overall though, really happy with my selections and definitely excited to try out some new things for next month. Hopefully some of my pre-ordered pens will be coming in and I'll get to play with those. Overall, I am again very happy with the pen and ink pairings that I had. Here is a flip of the inks up close. I really enjoyed doing this last month, so I wanted to do it again. This is the Diamine Cocoa Shimmer, and it definitely has that beautiful warm gold shimmer with that warm brown. Here is the Garnet, like I said, kind of like a pink red in the big swatch, and then in writing it definitely pulls a little bit more red. You may be able to see a little bit of that green sheen going on. It's very subtle, very light, but I really do enjoy it with this color. Then there was Rohrer and Klingner's Alt Bordeaux. Just look at that beautiful shading. Like I said, it's pretty monochrome with the shading. It's all within the purples, but it's a beautiful color and I really enjoy just this one. It's like a warm feeling when writing with this one. Then there was Birmingham Pen Company's Magnolia Mirage. Absolutely love the shading in this one. The purple haloing, the little bits of orange that pop out every now and then. It's just a really dynamic ink, very fun, very interesting. Then we had Monsoon Clouds by Robert Oster. Nice, dark, moody purple. 100% what I was looking for. Definitely has a bit of a blueness to it too, like a blurple that's like a dark blurple, if that's even a thing. But very, very lovely as well. Then we had Forest Black by Platinum. Again, love the shading on this one. When it goes all the way down to black, it is so unique, and definitely prefer the yellow more, but it is definitely a fun one too if you wanted to try out the green. And then KWZ's Grapefruit being the neon orange that I ended off with, that has some beautiful red base to it. It's just a beautiful, beautiful color. Really, really happy with my group this month. Anyways, I want to thank you so much for watching, for joining me today. If you liked my Blooms and Brews name, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Or if you have a better naming for this group, I would love to hear that too, because y'all always are so creative. I do want to do a quick touch on my video that I did about burnout with this book. I think I have just come to terms that I'm going to use it for my currently inked, and then if I feel the need to go into it, I'm going to, but I'm not going to be discarding it completely. I'm just going to be using it when I feel like it, and I think that's what's important for myself right now. But I wanted to say thank you to everybody who commented on that video and who helped me work through some things. It was very nice to discuss with everybody in the comments, and I did my best to respond to as many as I could. It was just an overwhelming response, and I'm so grateful. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.